Ukraine has shifted strategy, now attacking Russia's shadow fleet by targeting oil tankers. But the problem is that Romania, a NATO country, was also sunk by a maritime drone sent by Ukraine. Today, let's take a look at this issue. Let's get right into it. Before we start, it took me a whole day to make this video. I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. I'm asking for your support. Recently, Ukraine has been continuously attacking Russia's shadow fleet. Let me explain the shadow fleet. When the West imposed tough sanctions on Russia, Russia began using foreign ships to export its oil. As a result, Russia kept trading using oil tankers from the shadow fleet. If Russia hadn't done this, its economy would have suffered. There are now over 700 oil tankers in the shadow fleet. Currently, over half of Russia's fiscal revenue comes from state-owned energy companies' oil and gas export profits. Ukraine has started to focus its attacks on this. On December 2nd, Tilky authorities reported an oil tanker traveling from Russia to Georgia was attacked in the Black Sea. Tilky's maritime office reported that the Mid-Volga II, carrying sunflower oil and traveling from Russia to Georgia, was attacked about 148 kilometers off the coast of Tilky. All crew members are reported to be safe. In fact, this is not the first time Ukraine has carried out such an attack. On November 28, two Gambian-flagged oil tankers heading to Russia also experienced large explosions and fires near the Bosporus Strait in Tilky. There were no crew casualties then. Ukraine is acting in the Black Sea to cut off Russia's finances. Ukraine's strategy appears to have shifted significantly. This isn't the first time it has targeted Russian ships with maritime drones. Ukraine has conducted these operations since the war began. Previously, these operations were mostly in the northern Black Sea. Now, with the recent oil tanker sinking, it appears Ukrainian forces are targeting Russia's shadow ships across the whole Black Sea. President Erdogan indirectly criticized Ukraine in a televised speech, saying attacks threatening navigation, safety, lives, and the environment in Turkey's exclusive economic zone are intolerable, and that they are warning all parties about such incidents. Herhi, spokesperson for Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, denied Turkey's claim, stating Ukraine wasn't involved in the attack and, since the ship was headed to Georgia, had no reason to attack. He said Russia fabricated the incident. The situation is worsening. President Putin said Ukraine attacked a Shadow Fleet tanker and threatened to block maritime access. He also said he would fully blockade Ukraine's waters and warned of actions against tankers from countries backing Ukraine, even suggesting possible military action. A more shocking scene appears. Romania, a NATO member, destroyed a Ukrainian naval drone, the first clear strike by a NATO country on a Ukrainian military asset since the war began. The Romanian military detected a fast-moving unmanned surface vehicle during surveillance along the Black Sea coast and determined that this target was approaching a nearby oil tanker. The Romanian Navy said they destroyed the drone. The Romanian side admitted the target was a Ukrainian maritime drone, but stressed that protecting civilian vessels is a duty under international maritime law. They went on to announce that merchant ships must be guaranteed freedom of navigation even during wartime, and that they have a responsibility to respond to any risk factors approaching their territorial waters and exclusive economic zone. This statement will be a major burden for Ukraine. Until now, Ukraine's maritime drones have been regarded as a means of serving as strategic allies for neighboring countries. But with Romania putting the brakes on this, the battlefield is suddenly taking an unpredictable turn. Even within NATO, differences of opinion are emerging between countries that prioritize civilian logistics safety and those that believe pressure on Russia should be increased. Many countries are paying close attention to how Romania's recent actions will set new standards for maritime operational rules in the future. In particular, merchant ships passing through the Black Sea are adjusting their navigation strategies, judging that the possibility of military responses has increased due to Romania's actions. This incident is creating new tensions for the entire future maritime security landscape. Ukraine is still targeting Russia's oil facilities. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium reported a maritime drone attack at Novorossiysk, a key oil export port on the Black Sea coast. This pipeline is a key route for exporting Kazakh oil overseas through Russia. This facility is important due to its high volume, as Ukraine keeps launching drone attacks here. The Kazakh Ministry of Foreign Affairs called the attack a clear violation of international law protecting civilian facilities. At the same time, the Kazakh government, as a sovereign nation that has maintained cooperative relations with both Russia and Ukraine, has openly expressed its discomfort about the direct impact of the war on its own economic base. Ukraine stated the attack specifically targeted Russia's war infrastructure. It is highly likely that Ukraine will continue to make targeting Russia's energy supply network its main strategy in the future. In recent months, there have been regular drone attacks and other strikes. This method has become Ukraine's most effective means of pressure, as it can reach deep into Russian territory. Russia's refineries, pipelines, and storage are crucial for military fuel and national finances. One attack can disrupt frontline supplies and expose vulnerabilities, causing domestic price instability. Ukraine seems to be strategically targeting these points to increase Russia's economic strain and cause internal exhaustion for a prolonged war. Even in situations where support for some Western weapon systems is limited, attacks on energy infrastructure can be carried out relatively independently, allowing Ukraine to secure operational autonomy. Despite Russia boosting air defenses and alertness, its large size and dispersed infrastructure make fully protecting all facilities difficult. Considering these conditions, Ukraine has enough incentive to continue this strategy, which offers a high risk-to-reward ratio, and it is likely to see it as the most direct means of undermining Russia's ability to sustain the war. As Ukraine attacks oil tankers and facilities, Black Sea raw material shipping costs are rising quickly. With the possibility of additional attacks being raised, war risk insurance premiums are rising day by day. The overall uncertainty in Black Sea logistics is also increasing. Especially, the Black Sea is a key export route concentrated with grain, crude oil, and petroleum products, so the burden on shipping companies and insurance companies is increasing. As Ukraine and Venezuela keep attacking oil tankers, oil prices are rising. West Texas Intermediate jumped over 2% to just under $1.60 before pairing its gains. The key point about what's happening now is that this isn't just an incident ending with a single oil tanker attack. The entire Black Sea is becoming increasingly dangerous, turning into a massive pressure zone where military power, economic interests, and the diplomatic calculations of neighboring countries are all colliding at once. Russia is expanding its restricted access control zones by newly deploying surveillance ships and blockades in the waters around the Crimean Peninsula. Russia lacks sufficient naval power to blockade all of Ukraine's coastline. Even if they use the remaining Black Sea fleet to enforce a blockade, precision missile attacks make its success uncertain. Ukraine has rapidly increased the operational range and strike capability of its maritime attack drones by using navigation devices, high-performance motors, and video transmission systems provided by the West. Thanks to this, they succeeded in expanding their operational range beyond the northern Black Sea to the southern waters, and for Russia, the entire Black Sea is no longer a safe zone. The Black Sea has become chaotic, with warships, merchant ships, and maritime drones from different countries operating simultaneously. Because the surveillance radars of different countries are overlapping, target identification is delayed, and as the situation becomes more tense, the possibility of accidental clashes is rapidly increasing. Experts warn that in this environment, one misread signal could trigger conflict between countries. The United States and Russia are meeting in Ukraine, but after a 5-hour closed-door session, they couldn't reach a compromise. According to a Reuters report, Steve Witkoff, the United States White House Special Envoy, and Jared Kushner met privately with President Putin at the Kremlin for about 5 hours. They didn't achieve anything. Russia said they agreed on some points but couldn't accept others and remain far from resolving the Ukraine crisis. They added much work remains and no compromise was reached on the territorial dispute. Although Ukraine, Russia, as well as the United States and Europe have all expressed their willingness to negotiate an end to the war, there are significant differences in their views on how to divide the territory. Because of this, it is expected that the negotiations will face difficulties for some time. Because of this, the war likely won't end soon and may become a prolonged conflict. Experts predict the war may end in 2026, but we should keep monitoring the situation. What do you think about what's happening in the Black Sea right now? Please let us know in the comments. That's the end of the video. Thank you.